Major Giacometti came to the museum in August, and also we took him to the Eastgate chamber where he could see the Roman remains, and he was absolutely blown away, I think. Let me show you some of these military objects from the very first Roman occupation here at Gloucester. And we have a wealth of artefacts in the museum that relate to the Roman occupation of Gloucester from the 1st century AD. The Roman military force was a multinational force. In particular, there's a Roman military tombstone, which is of an auxiliary cavalryman from Thrace, which is in modern-day Bulgaria. And there are some pots on display in the museum which are of a typical Germanic origin from the Rhineland. And also we have a helmet on display, or part of a helmet on display, the cheek plate of which is a typical Gallic design. So that indicates a French presence as well. So all these different nationalities came to Britain in the 1st century AD during the Roman invasion.
Major Giacometti felt extremely proud being an Italian and returning here as part of a multinational formation such as the Ark, to have been preceded centuries ago by the Romans, and very much proud to be again part of a formidable military alliance such as NATO.
2,000 years ago nearly, we had the Romans come to Gloucester to set up their first base on the banks of the River Severn, moving a couple of years later, probably because they had wet feet there, into the city centre. And 2,000 years later, we have the Ark, a similar sort of multinational community, keeping us safe, but more importantly, actually connecting those 2,000 years of history from right at the beginning of Gloucester right to the modern day. There are many places in the city, such as my own ward in Kingsway, where Ark have homes where they make a tremendous contribution towards the city's communities.
One of the first things that the Roman army did when they arrived at the city centre of Gloucester was obviously to fortify their location. And to do that, they obviously had to build a legionary base. The interesting thing about the River Severn is that over centuries, rivers change their course. So now the River Severn is actually much, much further away. It's out here somewhere. People say, well, why did they build a fortress here? But actually the river has moved quite a long way away. But also the advantage of this spot was that it was on slightly higher ground. So underneath Boots in the centre of town is probably the primary site for viewing the Roman wall. And when it was originally built, it was probably 6 to 7 metres high and encompassed an area of about 47 hectares. A considerable size, but then it needed to be because the Legion was about 5,500 troops, plus another 1,000 or so supporting staff. So here in the Eastgate viewing chamber, you can clearly see the line of the Roman wall, which is running back towards the museum where we've just come from. And in front of us here are some of the best preserved Roman stone blocks anywhere in Britain. They considered that this Roman wall was so stable and so strong that actually it was suitable to build part of the modern building above us on top of it.
It's part of the structure here, of the new structure.
Yeah,
so part of the new structure has been built on it.
Yeah, it's actually partly holding up the building up above us, which is at least a 5-storey building.
So it's still working.
So it's still working after all this time.
It's still working.
Yeah.
Yeah.